Today I'm going to be sharing with you a resource that goes over 11 different ways you can increase your email deliverability, meaning 11 different ways you can get your emails to deliver better. So this is applicable / useful for really any business or any brand doing any sort of email marketing. These tricks are not confined to any sort of business. This really applies to anyone doing any sort of email marketing, from e-commerce brands, local stores, coaches, consultants, anything like that. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so this document will be linked in the description as per usual for you guys to access. The first thing I'll cover here is how to actually determine if you have email deliverability problems, and if you have, or if you will need to actually take actions to increase your email deliverability. So typically brand owners / marketers will know when they're starting to suffer from email deliverability issues, as the open rates will start to drop seemingly out of nowhere. And I just wanted to go over a few methods that you can use to actually diagnose any issues that you may actually have or be experiencing. So the first thing is to use tools. So there are several different online tools that can help you determine how your emails are delivering. So two of them that I can recommend are Mail Genius and Mail Toolbox, which basically just contain tools that allow you to send these softwares / websites your emails / test emails, and they will give you a rating on how well they are delivering. And then Mail Genius will also give you some more information based on your sender reputation, if you're on any blacklists and stuff like that. So the one thing I won't be covering today is talking about blacklists, as it's quite a complex topic and really it needs its own video. So no, if you do find out you're on any blacklists, I will not be covering that in this video. But these are just two websites that you can use to actually diagnose if you're running into any issues. Again, another way to sort of diagnose if you're running into any issues is if your campaigns are dramatically or suddenly performing worse off when it comes to the open rates. Again, the open rates is the only statistic that will be or should be looked at when it comes to trying to figure out if you're running into any email deliverability issues, as it's a major statistic it will impact. Now, this can be done across different campaigns, or it can actually be done across within one campaign, looking at the results of how the email performed across different ISPs. So ISPs is something I'll mention several times. So it stands for Internet Service Provider. And what I'm referring to here is Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, all the different email clients that your contacts or your subscribers can be opening or engaging with your emails within. ISPs equals Gmail, Yahoo, whatnot. Depending on which ASP, which is different ASP, as defined as what software you're sending the emails from, so Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign, etc. Depending on what one you're using, you should be able to see how your emails are performing based on the exact email client that your contacts are receiving it on. So this is an example from a campaign, and as you can see here, the open rates vary dramatically across different ISPs. This is because of a few reasons, but one of the major ones is different ISPs have different sort of levels for how stringent they are with letting emails pass through to their contacts' primary inboxes. So this is a pretty healthy account, and this is this email delivered well, and the average sort of email open rate was high 40%. And this is kind of like what you should say your own statistics looking like, as in Gmail, for emails that deliver well or the best, Gmail should always be the highest, with the others trailing just behind. Now, if you are running into issues, the first thing you'll normally see is Gmail will become the second highest open rate, or have the second highest percentage open rates, and then after that Hotmail will drop dramatically. So Hotmail might drop from high 20s to medium to high teens. But it's hard to kind of tell within just looking at this one graph as to what your statistics should look like. What I'll do, or what you should actually be doing, is looking at the statistics from different campaigns, looking at your best performing campaigns, and looking at the ones that are in question, or the ones that you think may have not delivered as well. As you'll likely see that the split or the open rates between the different ISPs might look dramatically different for the emails that you think might be delivering as well, or the more recent campaigns you've been sending. So this is just another thing to look at when you're trying to figure out, are your emails actually delivering well, or are you having issues? Now we're going to go through the 11 sort of tips or tricks that we can use to essentially increase your email deliverability. So I'm going to try and do them, or I've tried to lay them out in a way that you should start with number 1 and then do number 2 and then do number 3, number 4, etc. But the first thing that anyone should do is set up their DNS records and verification records correctly. So this is something that most brands have set up nowadays ever since last year when a lot of the ASPs mandated it, as Yahoo and I believe Gmail, I can't remember the other ISP, changed their policies on sender regulations and stuff like that. But all that being said, it's especially important to have not only your SPF and DKIM, but DMARC records also set up within your ASP and across your domain DNS. So again, this is a complex thing. I will make a video on this at some point and I'll link it here. So if this is made or this has been made already, then I'll have a link here. But if it's not, my apologies, I'm still getting to it. But there are plenty of videos on YouTube showing you how to actually set up these records. So you can actually just go on YouTube and search this up yourself if there's no video here already. One thing I'll be cautious of is setting up the DMARC records. Be careful with this. It's the easiest one to sort of mess up when it comes to setting up the policies of this record. So just make sure that you find a reputable video on YouTube or a reputable guide or resource to follow when you're actually setting this up. After this has been done, you will have to follow a domain warming process. If you do this with Klaviyo, they'll actually give you a resource on how to do this. But basically just entails putting your account or your email marketing through a period of extremely high engagement whilst this new domain is warming up, quote unquote. For advanced senders who are doing 50,000 plus or who have over 50 or 100,000 plus active contacts, you can set up sending from your own IP. This is the gold standard that bigger senders should be doing / have set up. But this is an extremely advanced strategy and you need to be extremely consistent within your email marketing and not ever have periods of not sending any email marketing or sending less campaigns, as you basically have to maintain your own IP that you have set up. But if you've got any less than 50 or 100,000 active contacts that you're not emailing consistently, then don't worry about this. It's really not a problem. Tip number 2 is to clean your email list. People forget to do this consistently. They might do it when they have issues, but best practice is to do it every 3-6 months. Neverbounce.com is a really good website that I would recommend you guys using, and it's extremely simple. All you got to do is upload either your entire list or your engaged segment of people that you're currently sending to, put it through the list cleaner, and it will spit out all the quote unquote bad email addresses, and you can just put it through and you can upload that back into Klaviyo, for example, and Klaviyo have a list cleaning feature, or you can just suppress these contacts / emails that Neverbounce have indicated that they are bad emails. This will do 2 things. It'll 1, reduce all your hard and soft bounces, ideally to 0 or as close to 0% as possible, and then remove any spam traps that may be within your list, which is also extremely important when it comes to maintaining email deliverability. Tip number 3 is to maintain a high engagement through segmentation. So the long short of all this is to keep your average open rates above 25% within campaigns and above 30% across the entire account. So that is above 25% within campaigns and then above 30% when it comes to the average of your campaigns open rates and your flow / automation open rates. So your automation / flow open rates should always be a bit higher because they are based on behavior and normally more timely and better directed to the people that are sending to. But if you don't have anything set up, what I recommend you do is set up some basic engaged segments. So 180-day, 90-day, 60-day engaged segments based on only subscriber behavior. I see people creating these segments and then including website behavior or stuff that isn't indicative of behavior that isn't within the environment of email marketing, and that can cause issues. So it's extremely simple. Just create these segments, 180-day engaged, 90-day engaged, 60-day engaged, etc. And the conditions or the parameters around these segments will be opened or clicked in the past 180 days, and the clicks are not bot clicks, and the opens are not Apple Mail opens. You can also add one other condition to these segments, which is a person has joined a list within the past 14 or 30 days. By doing this, you essentially catch any new people that enter the account that don't go through any designated flows or may somehow avoid any pathways that they should get, that they should have been put through. This sort of just catches everyone and makes sure that they at least are receiving regular campaigns. If you are trying to rebuild your sender reputation, as in you've identified that you do have an issue and you need to fix it as soon as possible, then our sort of protocol around this is to put the account through a period of extremely high engagement for 14 to 30 days. So this looks like tightening your engaged segments to achieve 35 to 45+% open rates, and then also turning off any flow automation emails that are receiving under 25% open rates. So this boosts account average open rates to 45, 50, 55, 60%, and brings up our center reputation, which allows us to deliver better yet again. This sort of rewarming period goes for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, as I said, but after this is done, you will slowly start to, or you'll normally start to first turn on the automation emails and then slowly start to build back out that engaged segment that you're sending your campaigns to. If I didn't explain how we achieve 35 to 40% plus open rates within campaigns, is we tighten the engaged segments that we're sending to. So we may go from sending to the 180-day engaged segment to the 90-day engaged segment, or even the 60, or if we really need to, 30-day engaged. Again, once I have done this, I'll link a segmentation guide here for Klaviyo, and within this I'll go through all the different segmentation practices and how to actually do it for Klaviyo. But if it's not linked here, then it's not created, unfortunately. Not yet. Tip number 4 is to maintain a consistent sending schedule. So be careful to not fluctuate your sending volume dramatically. As in, if you don't send any emails for 3 weeks or a month, and then you all of a sudden run a sales event and send 5 campaigns to your entire list within 5 days, the sending volume for you as a sender, if it spikes dramatically, then it's basically a red flag. When you think about what spammers are doing, or people who are trying to send lots of spam email on the email clients, that's essentially what they're doing. As they'll set up a new account and they will basically straight away try to send as many emails as they can as soon as possible. So we're just trying to really not look like a spammer at all, and not portray or do any behavior that is indicative of a spammer. So what you should do instead is to be consistent with your sending schedule and your sending volume. So consistently send 1, 2, 3, 4 emails a week. And then when you do need to send more emails, you have a better baseline to go off of, and you can double your amount of emails that you send within the week, but it's not increasing your total sending volume by 500 or 1,000%. So it shouldn't cause any issues. But the long short of this is just to be consistent and don't have any huge fluctuations in sending volume. Tip number 5 is to choose the right ASP. Now, the right ASP is a hard thing to really like. Now, the long short of this is just to get off any of the random uppy cheap ASPs that people are using. There's so many ASPs out there these days that different businesses are on, and really the only two that I can actually recommend myself are Klaviyo or ActiveCampaign, for both A, email deliverability, and then B, features and functionality. But a lot of the smaller ASPs out there, or lesser known ASPs that may be cheaper or may have these weird features that you like, a lot of them don't have their sender IP pools and their email deliverability management set up correctly or in the best way, or they allow grey hat, or let's call them dodgy senders, to also send from their ASP and from their IP pools. So you could be doing literally everything right within your email marketing, and if you're on the wrong ASP, it could not matter, because you'll be sending from a bad IP and there's really nothing you can do about it. So if you think that this is the case, do some research and see if you can find any evidence to suggest that you are sending on / from a bad ASP when it comes to email deliverability. But I can't recommend, or I can't say which ones are good and which ones are bad, because honestly, I don't know what the case is for all of them these days. And there are so many, and they're always changing. So you're going to have to do your own research here. But if there is a ton of evidence to suggest that this is the case, then you may have to transfer all of your email marketing onto a new ASP and sort of start from scratch. Tip number 6 is to stop sending obvious promotion emails. So this comes with formatting. When you think of an obvious promotional email that brands are sending, then most of the time the same thing comes to mind. A large image or HTML-based email with tons of links and tons of code. So for some brands, this is the best type of email they should be sending. But if you're having email deliverability issues, then you should really stop or try and get away from sending these types of emails, because trying to get an email like that to deliver well to a contact's primary inbox is especially hard. And the more code that you add within an email, the harder it's going to become to deliver well. So the more code in the form of images and the more code in the form of links will make it harder for you to deliver to your contact's primary inboxes Furthermore, something that people don't think about is if you're including links of other domains or other websites within your emails, then whatever sort of deliverability status / rating that is associated with that domain of the link that you add to it will also be associated with your email. So if, for instance, you want to include a link for a content or blog or another store that has been blacklisted and has got terrible email deliverability for their own domain and has a bad sender reputation, by including their domain and their link in your email, then that email will deliver worse off, and it will put an asterisk next to your name as well, because you're also sending their stuff or associating with them. So you really just don't want to associate with any bad senders or spammers or anything like that. Next is a very little known tip. This rarely happens, but if you ever are sending email marketing and then all of a sudden all of them start going to spam like instantly one day, one of the things to look out for is if your sender email has a full inbox. If your sender email has a full inbox, then this can cause this. And I've seen it happen before where brands have just all of a sudden starting going to spam, and we looked into it, or I messaged them and I basically asked them what's going on because I either knew them or was just interested, and this has happened before. So be cautious. Like if your emails all of a sudden start going to spam, make sure your sender email inbox has space in it, because if there isn't any space in it, then yeah, it causes big issues. Tip number 8 is encourage replies. So any sort of engagement that you can get within your email marketing will only help your email deliverability, open rates, click-throughs, and then obviously replies. Replies are like one of the best forms of engagement that you can get, right below people whitelisting your emails. But if you can send emails to your list that encourage replies, and then if you can actually like have some sort of conversation across your sender email to your contacts after the fact, then that will also only help you out. So ask for replies and then conversate in the emails after that. I know it takes some work, but if you send 4 or 5 responses to one person within the email, then one, they're going to love your brand way more, and they're going to be stoked that you're actually talking to them. And then 2, it's going to only do good things for your email deliverability and sender reputation. Next is whitelisting. So this is a very simple one, and this is basically asking your contacts to whitelist your sender email address, or you as a sender. Different audiences are more likely or less likely to do this, but literally all it entails is sending them an email saying, hey, we're trying to send you some really cool stuff, but sometimes the emails don't always land in the primary inbox. Can you please whitelist that stuff? Email address or us as a sender, so you see everything that we're trying to send you. Or you can give them an incentive, you can give them a discount or whatnot if they do it. This can be done in a myriad of ways. Tip number 10, if you experience high spam reports, then the way to get around this, or the way to beat this, is to move your unsubscribe button up into the very top of the emails. This strategy should really only be used when you're getting high spam reports, and then this normally happens when you're trying to reactivate a part of the list that was previously unengaged or hasn't engaged with your emails in a long time. So if you're doing something like this, then just put the unsubscribe button or put a second unsubscribe button at the top of your email. Yes, you're going to get more unsubscribes, but you're going to get way less spam reports, which is way better for you as a sender for your email deliverability. And then 2, you're just getting people to self-select themselves to be removed from the email list that are only going to A, not engage with the email marketing at all, or B, mark you as spam or whatnot later on. So if you're having high spam reports, then this is a great strategy to use. Tip number 11 is to test your emails before sending. So practically this looks like creating 2 different email accounts within an ISP, Gmail, Yahoo, whatnot. Within one of the accounts you're going to be engaged is going to be the engaged inbox, where you're going to open emails, you're going to click all the emails that you get, and basically you're just trying to mimic an extremely engaged user. The other one, you're going to engage with emails not at all. So you won't ever open an email, ever click it or do anything, at least on purpose. Every now and then you might click one on accident, but by doing this, you can have 2 different accounts that mimic 2 different types of users, and by sending test emails to these accounts, you'll be able to see how the emails land in the first place, and then B, how it differentiates between different types of users. As in, if you're going to land in spam at all, the first place you're going to land in spam is within a unengaged account. So really, the unengaged account is just a harder version of the engaged account when it comes to inboxing well. So typically, emails will land in spam first, and then they're hardest to get into the primary inbox. If you do this with Gmail and have your test accounts set up with Gmail, then you'll also be able to see how often they land in the promo tab or if they land in any other tabs. And if you do this consistently, you can just get an understanding of what causes emails to go to bad inboxes, and you'll also understand how dramatically the user's engagement dictates how your emails land within the inboxes. A bonus tip, don't resend to non-openers. I know a lot of people do this. You're basically just like showing the ISPs at your business and you're sending promotions. So if you're trying to land the promo inbox, then this isn't a best practice. Also, this is behavior that's associated with not only advertisers but spammers, as in they just keep sending the same thing over and over again on bulk. Solution, if you do need a resend, or if you have an especially important email that you want to resend to non-openers, then you can still segment out the non-openers and send it again, but just change it up a little bit, like change out 25% of it, give it a different subject line, which you probably should be doing anyway for this type of email or this strategy, and then just change the lead. You just don't want the ISPs to see you send the exact same email with the exact same code to the same people again. It's just bad practice, and it will only tank your reputation. Next, a few other considerations. One, content. I'm sure you've heard by now that there's spammy content and spammy language out there, and like certain language to avoid or sales language that you should avoid when it comes to what you're including within your emails. But some of the language that has been marked as spammy is less obvious. As in, essentially what you're trying to do here is not use any language that people have used while sending spam. And there's so much spam these days, or has been so much spam sent out, that there's certain language that has been used that you wouldn't even necessarily think is quote unquote spammy. A great example of this was a past client who had a breath holding course, and we couldn't ever talk about anything cardiovascular or heart related. As soon as we mentioned heart health, stroke, blood, anything like that, the emails would almost instantly go to spam or deliver worse off. And we had to like use code words and get around it, because anything using that sort of language delivered terribly. So there's instances like this across all different language, and there's like certain keywords that you wouldn't even think are bad that can just set off the spam filter like that. So the best way to get around this is just to test all your emails before you send them. And then if an email goes to spam, have a look through it, try to figure out which words are the keywords that triggered it, take it out, send another test and see where it lands. And you sort of keep doing that process until you figure out which words or which keywords were causing the issue. The next thing is a sending period. So there's certain periods during the year or randomly that occur where the ISP's constraints or the amount of emails that they let into the promo inbox of their users will just decrease dramatically. Or there is just so much email traffic going through there that people just can't open and read all the emails that they receive. So you'll see worse off open rates and engagement rates in general. So a great example of this is actually just gone and is sort of coming to an end right now, which was the Black Friday Cyber Monday period of 2024, which was straight after the US election. So when the US election started, there was so much traffic going out, so much email traffic going out that the ISPs were already constraining the amount of emails that they were allowing to go through into their users' primary inboxes. And then when they added Black Friday Cyber Monday on top of that, there was so much traffic going on that it was incredibly hard to get any emails to land in the primary inboxes of all the different ISPs. So sometimes there's things that happen that are outside of your control, and you just got to be aware of this and look out for it. And if it does happen, take actions to keep your account average open rates and engagement at a point that are desirable / over 25-30%. And you can do this by tightening segments that you're sending to and by changing their strategy and how you're sending your emails. And that's it for this. If you have any more questions on this, please feel free to ask me in the comments below. It's an extremely complicated thing that I've been looking into and researching for the past 5-6 years, and I definitely haven't got it completely figured out. I don't think anyone does, because there's no exact rule book, and Gmail and whatnot literally have hundreds of people working to stop people from sending spam and are constantly changing what emails deliver well. And they're not sharing their rules, and they're not sharing their rule books, so we never really know exactly what's going on. But in my experience, there are a few things that you can do that for sure increase your email deliverability, and this document basically contains all of them, except the blacklist stuff, which is again more complicated, and I will save for another video. But if you're having any issues, start with this, try and figure out if you actually have an issue with these testing tools and this quick guide, and then run through these tips and try to fix this yourself. But if you like this video, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe. Until next time, cheers.